Tonight, what I really want to do is tell you about my friend Barack Obama, a leader who has what it takes to lead us over the next 4 years.
He likely didn't know it at the time, but Barack didn't feel quite the same way. In the book Double Down about the 2012 presidential campaign, it was revealed that former President Obama seriously considered replacing Joe Biden with Hillary Clinton as the number 2 on his ticket. The thinking was obvious. Obama saw Hillary, not Joe, as the heir apparent and would set her up for that 2016 run. Well, it never happened, but it is relevant to the current predicament Joe Biden finds himself in. He's old and he's frail, and his number 2 is widely despised. Enter Gavin Newsom. Now, consider that Newsom has been positioning himself lately, traveling to red states, pulling DeSantis-like moves in his state, like going after a school board and fining them for not accepting his radical new curriculum, running ads, all of that. While some in Democrat circles have been salivating over his replacing Biden, that was never a serious play. Replacing Kamala, though? Who says no? Consider this piece from the Wall Street Journal today. Where's Kamala Harris? Harris planned to campaign extensively for President Biden's re-election, but her early schedule suggests otherwise. So is something afoot? Joining us now is Chris Bedford, executive editor at the Common Sense Society. Chris, this just struck me today and kind of watching things playing out in California. I mean, it is interesting that Newsom is taking on that Temecula school board for refusing to accept this radical new curriculum that they want to put in place in the public schools there, involving, all sorts of topics that we've covered on the show. He's trying to kind of do a DeSantis in the reverse in California. And meanwhile, Kamala seems like, how low can she go? We don't know, but low.
Yeah, Gavin Newsom's really set himself up in the tradition of California as sort of the experimental lab for left-wing ideas and things that we like to make fun of and scoff at, but 10 years later find themselves federal policy affecting all of us, or afflicting all of us is more like it. But the reason why I think in the end Barack Obama didn't go with Hillary Clinton, despite the fact that he knew that she was the heir his apparent successor, despite the fact that he would never end up backing Joe Biden after for president, at least in the race right after, is because when you switch your vice president, it portrays an air of weakness. And Joe Biden's campaign, especially given how weak he actually is, both physically and in popularity in his own party, is not really going to want to, I think, portray any more weakness than they already have. Now, Kamala Harris brings nothing to the table.
Chris, let me just jump in. Chris, let me just jump in on that. I'm sorry to interrupt. But in this, I mean, you're comparing Obama, one of the best political campaigners that we've seen in the last 50 years, to Joe Biden, who can't find his way off a stage. I mean, I don't know. I don't know if you can compare those two at this juncture in their campaigns. I mean, Biden needs all the help he can get at this point, in my view.
That's true, but remember, Obama was weak on re-election. The economy was bad. His poll number was bad. But his polling was bad. The percentage of people who thought the country was going in the wrong direction made it look like Mitt Romney had a really good chance to unseat him as president. That turned out to not be true in the end. But with Joe Biden, I think one of the big things that they want to do is have this theater, pay no attention to the man behind the curtain, portray an aura of strength right here. So while Kamala Harris doesn't add anything to the ticket, you have to wonder, what would Gavin Newsom add? Maybe he would invigorate some of the left-wingers, but a lot of the folks that look at his technocratic California and say, that's the future I want for this country, might already be on Biden's side.
Yeah, Chris, Kamala is not going to go down without a fight. If anyone's thinking about replacing her on the ticket, well, listen to her today.
We are imperfect, and we must be honest about that to understand then our history, where we've been, and then have a North Star in terms of where we must go.
Oh, my God. Chris, she cannot be the future of the Democrat.
Dense.
She could be a crossing guard, though. She has the good hand motions down.
I mean, there's so much buyer's remorse from Democrats, and it's because she was a hire that just fit the diversity quotas, as opposed to someone who actually brought a lot to the ticket. And worse than that, she hasn't done her homework. She's an absolute nightmare as a principal for her staffers, who I'm sure are working really hard to make sure she has more than a few just nonsensical lines to repeat, like maybe explaining what artificial intelligence stands for. She does no good, but in the end of the day, if anyone wants to replace her, she's going to call them sexist. She's going to call them racist. And this is something that's very frightful to the Democratic Party, even if Republicans at least have finally learned to not care about those kind of insults.
Unless she gets a great job at, let's say, Google or Apple. Just saying. All right, Chris,
There's
great to
always a
see you.
payout.
Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to subscribe to Fox News YouTube page and catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You will not get it anywhere else.